Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got Lewis Herms and we're going to talk about all the latest updates, a little bit of spirituality and awakening and stuff like that. So Lewis, thank you so much. How are you and what have you been up to?
Doing fantastic. Well, been traveling a lot. Went to Rome for 3 days, and then went into Ireland to Mark Atwood's retreat, health retreat, and it was just phenomenal. And then we had an event on Saturday that was just rousing. It was really incredible. So it's been, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can to bring the stuff back to California. So I'm doing a lot of traveling, and then our tour is coming up this Saturday. So
Oh
busy,
wow,
busy,
amazing.
busy.
That's amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting. With we've mentioned it before, but with the memorial stuff that's going on with Charlie Kirk, and I think Trump was at the UN today, um, doing speeches. His concerns about Europe,
Yeah,
how corrupt Europe is. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. We were just talking before. We started talking. Before we hit the record button, and you were saying. What was you saying? Something about like how I was saying that you know we need divine intervention. It's like there is no way one man or a group of men is going to get rid of the deep state. We need divine intervention, and I've been doing a lot of research. I've got whistleblowers that I've spoken to, and some military intelligence that I've spoken to, and I've been doing a lot of research, mapping it all out. And this is why I have this podcast, is because I just want to put it out there for people. And this is something that we went off, spoke, before we started recording, and you wanted to, you thought it was a good idea for us to discuss it.
yeah, because you have some interesting theories. They're very esoteric. I know people were afraid to go there sometimes, but everything's not black and white. It feels very odd to me, and I feel like I'm extraordinarily awake, but things feel different. Things feel more controlled right now with the narratives on both sides. Everything feels like it's intentional. Um, my biggest concern is we have to remember that the evildoers want us to look at everything in black and white, because when they divide us, they conquer us, right? So there's no hue of colors in the middle. It's like it's either this or it's either that. And the division seems to be getting wider in some respects, and then people are kind of coming over, I guess you could say, from the Democrat Party because of Charlie Kirk shooting. So it's very wonky right now, but what it does is it feels like everything's accelerated to some type of end. And then you had some theories that I thought were just very interesting. Many things I didn't even know about.
So this is what I've been told, and I just want to put it out there. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm not trying to change anyone's perspective. I just want to put it out there, and people can decide what they want to think. For me, it resonates with me. Now, first of all, I want to say that we're seeing a lot of chaos. We're seeing a lot of panic. They're not in control. What you're seeing is chaos and panic, right? They're making a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of gaps where people are questioning everything. You know, um, gaps in the matrix, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the storyline is collapsing. It's like people can see through the veil now. People can see through the illusion, and there's a split right now. There's a split. There's people that are buying it, and they're just becoming worse. Like they're buying it even more. They're becoming dependent on the deep state or the system because they don't even know there is a deep state. And then there are people that just know they're awaking. They can see through the illusion. And this split is becoming more and more apparent. And it's like we don't even resonate with these two groups. Now, this isn't judgment. This is what you resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're just whatever you resonate with, you're just matching yourself to that timeline. Now, what I've learned is that the electron, right? So there's a lot. We see a lot of things in the political arena, 3D. We understand things in the 3D. There's a lot more going on with our physics, with the reality of of what's going on with atoms, the fabric of our reality, spirituality. There's a lot more going on that overlaps with politics that the elites are aware of, very aware of. And we are not aware of this. We only see things from face value. Remember, they lied to us in school. They didn't teach us about how consciousness affects atoms. They only teach us what an atom is. They only teach you surface-based science, not spiritual, how everything is tied in with our fabric of reality, right? Now, since the year 2000, there's been the shift started there. The electromagnetic field has started thinning. Now, the electromagnetic field, which is a frequency field, if you like, that protects us, you could call it the ozone layer, but it also has it's like an ozone layer, but you got to understand, like, the invisible enemy that Trump is aware of this, the invisible enemy. They hijacked the electromagnetic field and they installed their own frequencies to broadcast fear, to broadcast the illusion of the matrix, okay? To suppress our intuition. This is why the vaccines, this is why processed food, 5G towers, Wi-Fi's, Bluetooth, everything now is like, oh, Bluetooth. Oh, I've got Bluetooth curtains, drapes, blinds. Everything is Bluetooth because the more Bluetooth, they sell it on like, oh, it's great technology. But the more EMFs we have, the more it suppresses your intuition. Remember, your intuition is when is connected to God. It's your inner knowing. You know something before it reaches the brain. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is you channeling. This is a bleed through the veil. They want to lock that. Okay? Sorry, do you have any questions before?
Well, how did they do it though? I mean, what's the physics behind it?
This is what I don't know. Because this is 4-5 dimensional stuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. Some of us believe that there are off-world beings. I do believe that. We're not here on our own. There are beings disconnected from source who are harvesting our energy because they want to harvest our energy on loosh. Okay? This is why the mainstream media has been their number one most powerful weapon, because they can create the narrative, they can control mass opinions in one go, put us in fear, and they harvest our energy on fear. Because they can only exist in a lower frequency. This is why I think of what happened with Charlie Kirk. Whether you think it was staged or not, doesn't really matter. What matters is that they caused grief. They caused fear because they want to bring the frequency down. They know a lot of people are awakening. And when that electromagnetic field is thinning and thinning and thinning, that's why they're talking about climate change. Okay? That's why Bill Gates is talking about blocking the sun. Because the sun is able to give us plasma frequencies, which is penetrating now to us through on Earth. And because the electromagnetic field is thinning, it's now reaching us through the electromagnetic field. And this is why you're experiencing more. You're seeing the illusion collapse. You're seeing the illusion of the matrix collapse. And the signs that we're seeing is synchronicities, where more telepathic. You might think of someone and someone will just call you. Mm-hmm. You might say something and someone might say, well, I was just thinking the same thing. So you're seeing more of this. You're seeing through you're seeing through the lies. You're seeing through, when the government says they're going to do this, or digital ID, or they want to do this, or you can just feel it, the lies. You can feel they are pre-scripted. Okay. Your dreams are more vivid. I don't know if you've noticed that, Lewis. Have you noticed that maybe
I'm having a lot more dreams too.
Yeah. They're making mistakes. There was something else I was going to say. Days, every day just seems to be looping. The days seem to be just going faster, some really, really slow. Okay. Because we are experiencing, we're experiencing a less linear experience on Earth. It's becoming less linear or non-linear. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I actually agree. So for about 5 years, I've asked people to just hear me out. I believe there's a great awakening, which is the information gathering. But the one thing that they don't talk about is I believe there's a true awakening. And the true awakening is clearing out and decalcifying the pineal gland and us having the resonance where we have that God spark back. And it's the direct connect, similar to what you're saying. But then we have this discernment that is at the highest level. And I believe the true awakening is we get all our abilities back. I'll give you some examples. So there's some people on this planet right now that can pick up any instrument and start playing it. There's some people on the planet right now that can move things with their minds. There's some people on the planet that have telepathy. There's some people on the planet that can do math like no others without any training. Well, because we all have those abilities. They've just been suppressed, highly suppressed. So I believe the true awakening is when we break through the veil, as you put it, and start fixing the food, fixing the chemicals in the air and the water, the 5G and all this stuff. I believe it's going to decalcify our pineal gland, and our resonance is going to be even more amazing, because there's something that's called the 100th monkey effect. And that's where monkeys will do something here, and when the 100th one does it, the next thing you know, they're doing it on another island across the other planet, because there is a collective consciousness through the quantum field that we don't see, that is actually connecting all of us. And I think that's what's beautiful. And what I do see is I see this attraction magnet pulling us together, so we have more. I guess your word makes a lot of sense. More, or I would say a vast, more thinking network. It's almost like we're all synapses within the same brain, connecting electronically now, and I definitely see that accelerating. So
Yeah,
what you're saying really resonates with me.
absolutely. And I want to say something else also, because you was talking about non-player characters, NPC, you mentioned.
NPCs
Yeah,
are real.
yeah, they're real. I have to tell you guys, for me, this was the most groundbreaking information that I found out. And it makes so much sense. When you ask somebody, a divine soul, anybody who just feels love and empathy, you just feel this, right? Let me tell you, when the earth has been hijacked, let's think of like the energy grid, the electromagnetic field, or the fall of Atlantis, okay, 12,000 years ago. When the Dracos, or the invisible enemy, or whatever you want to call them, when they hijacked the ley lines of Earth, they couldn't have the population of Earth to be just souls. When I say just, I mean just, all souls, because the frequency of the Earth would be too high and their illusion would not be able to sustain. So what did they do? They had to stop souls entering human bodies at birth. So 80% of the population are non-player characters. These are the majority of your family members. They're the majority of your friends. They're the majority of your neighbors. This majority of the world, basically. Because what they do is they are the architecture of the matrix. They are there to comply. They are there to keep the system running. They are there to destabilize a divine soul from awakening, to making you feel that you're a black sheep, to making you feel that you over empathize, you feel too much. And this is it. We are the black sheep. We are the conspiracy theorists. And there's a lot of them in the truth community as well. Their pineal gland is connected to the electromagnetic field. They are programmed. They have real biological bodies, but they are their consciousness is synthetic. Okay. Our consciousness is connected to source. So that's why when we behave, when we feel empathy, or when we're thinking and we have inner wisdom, this is channeling from source field. And this field that we channel from is unknown to the matrix. It's unknown to the NPCs. Okay. And they glitch when we make their system glitch. They don't understand us and they freeze. They don't know what to say sometimes. What do you think about that, Lewis?
Well, I really believe there's NPCs out there. And for people that don't know what that means, that's a non-player character. I don't know the percentage as if you say it, but here's what I do believe. An NPC can be a Democrat or a Republican. An NPC can be a Trump supporter or non-Trump supporter. An NPC could take a vax and non take a backs because they're playing based on what their program is. They can have children, and the children that they have can be player characters, not just non-player characters, depending on who they're with. Because I look at more like some has a soul and some may not have a soul, right? But there are definitely people walking around through life, and it feels like me that they're abiding more by a program than their own discernment. And I would say that that's an NPC. Now, in my belief, maybe I'm crazy, I think we might be able to flip some of those NPCs. I don't think they're all lost forever. But what's your thought about that?
I think that they never existed. They're empty vessels. And the audience is wondering, well, how would we ever know this? Well, let me tell you. A soul radiates a toroidal field. Now, there's a light or auras around us that the human eyes cannot see because our eyes, the light spectrum of the human eye is limited. The Pentagon has frequency technology that can assess how awake you are. The more you embody truth, the more you embody love and empathy, the more makes you closer to source, the more you are expanding your toroidal field. They can see, and they have this, and they make sure to keep us low as possible, right? So they can see, they know who's this. Now, another thing is, let me explain. Oh, I love this, right? When, Lewis, you go to bed at night and you think to yourself, all right, I'll put it like this. NPCs do not have any self-awareness. They are self-conscious, but they don't have self-awareness. I'm going to give you a great example. Self-awareness is when you recognize that you have an ego. You recognize that you got offended. You recognize that you may be shy. Self-awareness is when you question your ego. It's when you question, why did I get offended? Okay. Well, how can I fix this? Why did I get offended? And then you evolve. Okay. You evolve spiritually. And then maybe next time you don't get offended. That self-awareness is when you look at yourself from the outside and you observe yourself. You realize that I am not Nicholas Veniamin experiencing the universe. I am the universe experiencing Nicholas Veniamin. So when you ask an NP, if you ask somebody, if somebody gets offended and they're unable to question why they get offended, then that's a strong sign that there might be an NPC. The other thing is that they never question, why am I here? What's my purpose? Or they don't get goosebumps. They might get goosebumps if they're cold, but they don't get goosebumps if the truth resonates with them, or if they listen to a song and it touches them. This is a truth detector. Your body is, your nervous system is a truth detector. When you get a feeling around your head, that feeling, that vibration feeling, okay, when you feel empathy, that is your body, your soul. You know, your nervous system is acting like a truth detector. And not everyone has that. And you think sometimes, how you look at people and you think sometimes, how can you operate? How can you say this and not feel anything? Or how can you? I'm going to be honest with you. When I started learning this, I started asking just randomly, and this isn't judgment. This is discernment. This isn't me judging people and saying, maliciously. This is discernment. I want to know. I'm curious to know what's what. Our goal is to help souls awaken. If they don't have a soul, they've got nothing to awaken. Your awareness is a mirror. That's why you're able to reflect like a mirror and look at yourself. How can I improve on this? Why did I get offended? But if you don't have that mirror, you're not able to even reflect. They don't have that reflection. They only have self-consciousness, and they're programmed. And that's their code is ego. Your code is source coded. That's why you feel empathy. That's why you can detach your ego from yourself, because ego is not your identity, source is. But when you don't have source, their ego is their identity. And some people, they can't look at themselves and question, why do I have an ego? They just think it's just the way of the world. If I do this, I'll get respect. They don't understand that that's your ego. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah. This is deep, Nick. I'm absolutely loving this conversation.
I want you to push me, though, because I want you to push me. Ask me questions, sure. Push me. Play devil's advocate, because I become better with my answers when I'm pushed, and I don't have the opportunity to do that because I'm usually on the other side interviewing people. But I get all of this information from different sources, and I want to be able to put it out there. And I'm not saying, people can take it as they want, but I just want to put it out there.
So was this information, was it primarily downloads, or did you study it, or how did you come across these revelations, and why do you believe in it so much?
I believe in it because it resonates with me from my own experience. I've heard it many, many times before, but I never quite understood it. Okay, about the solar flash, electromagnetic field, the Dracos, or this invisible enemy. I never understood it, but it makes a lot of sense. I personally know people, ex military intelligence that have told me this information, information from the Pentagon, and also information that I found on ChatGPT AI, but this is after me cracking it as well. And it coincides with a lot of information that I've learned. Because 5 years ago, when I started my podcast, I learned some of this stuff, but I never really understood it. Mm-hmm. But now all the pieces now that I'm learning is starting to put together, and I don't know if it's because I'm shifting as well. I'm able to access information like this as well because of the illusion is cracking.
Well, I think it's your openness to it more than you were 5 years ago. So it's going to come to you faster. And you have I won't say an understanding, you have a knowing, which I think is very, very important when we're addressing this type of change, because this is what this is. This is a drastic change. Now, do you feel like there's no hope for the NPCs? I mean, because the reality is the NPCs are our moms, our dads, our brothers, our sisters, our girlfriends, our boyfriends.
All right.
And people that we even love. Is it just hopeless for them?
You usually, if there's a spot, it usually they're dormant souls. There's a lot of dormant souls around the divine souls, right? People who are in this, the conspiracy theorists, the black sheeps. We're not going to be surrounded completely by NPCs because when we incarnate here, we incarnate with some protection around us. Like it could be a mum or a dad or a sibling, or you might have a best friend. Okay, and usually if they're asleep, they're dormant souls. They're heavily anchored in ego, in the matrix, and their soul is dormant. They can feel something is wrong, but they're asleep. Now, how do we know this? Because they feel empathy. NPCs, they mimic empathy. They cannot learn. They cannot create. They mimic, and And it makes a lot of sense why you see people they should be grieving, and then you hear it's a lot of it is learned. It's not that they're malicious. They're not malicious. They're not evil people. They are just architecture of the matrix. They recognize that something is wrong, and when they show empathy, it's they learn it from patterns and behavior, and they apply it. They apply it because they believe that's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
But
they're like an AI. Is really what it is.
exactly, because they're programmed. Yes, their pineal gland is connected to the system, to the system. Right.
So here's where you and I probably have a disagreement. I believe that there is, for that 80% of NPCs that we're talking about, I don't believe it's a complete lost cause. I believe that with our work and the divine and some other factors going on, could be solar flashes, whatever it is, definitely getting rid of all the things that poison our pineal gland. I believe there's hope for some of the NPCs that we break that connection with the electromagnetic field, and then they start using their pineal gland, and their soul awakens, and they start. And I believe that's necessary, because ultimately, aren't we going to have the majority if we're really going to move to the next level? Or
if you think about it, NPCs, their consciousness is robotic. They
currently, yes, I agree with that.
Currently, no, but they never existed before this realm. They were created as soon as they were born. They're empty vessels. There's no soul. There was no soul before.
Then according to that, yeah, according to that theory, which would make sense, is then what you're saying is, so as in the Bible, God created us in His image. Then it's almost like the deep state created NPCs in their image, because we already know that they can't create, they can't manifest. They use us to create, they use us to manifest on their behalf. So I just want to be clear. Are you saying that, so God created us in His image, and maybe the deep state created the NPCs in theirs, which would be fascinating?
Well, the original blueprint is the way God intended to create the earth, right? If you go back to Atlantis and we could heal, we would be telepathic. There's a bigger blueprint to God's intention into how we should be living, right?
I agree with that,
paying
totally.
taxes,
I agree with that.
Yeah, not paying taxes and working for money and buying nice cars and feeding the ego, because that's not who we are, right? So when we fell and we were hijacked, then this is the state we're in now. This is the result of it now. Okay. But I'll tell you something, is a lot of people say, well, if they are NPCs, if the majority of my family are NPCs, then, then am I going to grieve? What's going to happen after? Well, when we expand consciousness, we will just understand. We will have so much awareness that everything will make sense. We will always love them, because when we love, whether doesn't matter what they are, when you love, it's because you're a divine soul. It's because you're a soul and you love, and that will always be remembered and recorded in the universal memory fabric of source, right? So, but we will understand. We will grieve, but understanding. It's like waking up from a dream. You have a dream, and you fall in love with what goes on in the dream. But then when you wake up, you understand it was a dream. Your awareness expands, and that's what's going to happen when we expand. And it's happening now. People are becoming disconnected, more disconnected. It's either they're awakening and they can see there's an issue and they're curious, or they're just really disconnecting the other side. And there's a shift, there's a split. And this split's going to continue. And this isn't judgment, it's resonance of timelines.
Interesting. This is a fascinating conversation.
I've been researching this for months and months and months, and I've wanted to put it out there. You know, it's very controversial, but it's very spiritual. We've been enslaved. We live in a hologram. This is another thing people don't understand, is that we live in a hologram. Our consciousness is real. We are powering this. We are powering the hologram. This is why the Dracos need us, because they're disconnected from source. They can't create timelines. They need us to create the hologram on their behalf, to trap us so that they could harvest energy loosh for them. And I'll tell you what the mark of the beast is all about, the digital ID is all about. That's not only tracking you, but that's tracking and tethering or mapping your frequency, which is your soul, your toroidal field, into their synthetic timeline, their own synthetic hologram. Yes, they're creating a hologram that's disconnected to source field, where they lock your soul into their synthetic timeline, right? So that they would be making you agree in accepting unconsciously, like they did with the vaccines, to lock your soul so that they could harvest your emotional loosh energy. And they're going to make it like much better than Earth. It will be like paradise, but without sovereignty. You will never question it because it will be so great, but without sovereignty, without freedom. And that's what the mark of the beast, that's what is losing your soul. It's not, you're not losing your soul. It's them locking your soul in this. Yes. People don't realize there's God is us. God is your soul. God is your awareness. When you reflect on who you are, why did I get offended? That is God reflecting on yourself. You, Lewis Herms, and Nicholas Veniamin is the character. That's not who we are. Who we are is awareness, and that's God. God is not above us. We are God. God is within us. This idea that God is above us, that's not true. This is hierarchy. Hierarchy only exists in a control system. That's what I believe.
No, I agree with that, and I think that's the Roman Catholic Church is the epitome of that. Back in the day when they used to put well, they still do, but they put the Pope and the Church way before God, and I believe God is within all of us, absolutely, and I believe that's our connections, and this is even if people disregard the Bible or believe the Bible. So if you're staunch Christian and you think God's up there, but you believe the Bible, where the Bible states that we are all made in God's image, well, then God's not up there, because God's working among us and with us, and we are all collectively in this energy matrix ourselves. But it's not really a matrix, is it? The NPCs are kind of in the matrix, and we're working our way through their matrix, which is fascinating. This was fun, Nick.
Yeah, this is fun. You know, the other thing I want to say is they want us to worship vertically above us, because when we worship, they know this. When we worship to an external savior, whoever that might be, Jesus, Trump, I don't know. When you worship outside of you or to an external savior, you're surrendering your sovereignty to obedience, compliant. And that's not good. That's not good. You will, we have to consciously reject the false system and accept and declare sovereignty. Because when you declare sovereignty, you're making a spiritual contract with awareness, with you. And they know this. And so when you see influencers pushing Jesus Christ constantly, right, they may have woken out. They may have woken up within their own script, within their own matrix, but they don't transcend the matrix. They don't teach sovereignty, soul remembrance. They don't teach this. So they are kind of working within the matrix still, within the matrix framework. And I do believe in Jesus. I believe in Yeshua. I believe that he was an ascended master. I believe that he was a healer. I believe that he taught reincarnation. From, the Gnostics taught this, which was heavily suppressed. And they want us to believe that Jesus is more than us, so that we could never compare ourselves to Jesus, so that we can worship and pray to Jesus as an external savior, and you not looking within. Because the Christ consciousness that's returning, it's not Jesus, it's within us.
Well, it's interesting because I do believe that they're trying to make it a hierarchy, but yet then many Christians just ignore the Bible itself, where it says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do." Something to that effect. It's John 14:12. So Jesus is literally saying that we're going to do greater works than him. So, in fact, I believe Christ puts us on a parallel.
There you go. We
with
are.
him.
He was our brother.
Right. I believe he puts us on a parallel, and it has empowered us to do the best we can do. Nobody's perfect, obviously. That Christ did a great job of that. But whatever the reality is, I believe has empowered us to be the best that we possibly can be. And as long as we're thinking we're less than, we talk about DNA and so on and so forth. And I don't believe that everybody's born a sinner. I think that's absolutely BS. This amazing, precious, godly baby is born a sinner.
No,
they're not. The sin has been introduced to us is really what happened.
They want us to believe we're sinners so that we.
Well, it's shame control. That's what it is.
When you believe you're a sinner, you create a soul contract. Your belief is a soul contract. It's an energetic contract. And you create that destiny. Whatever you think you are, you basically surrender your sovereignty. Sovereignty is very important. We have to reject the false systems. We have to reject false saviors. It's us that's going to save ourselves. It's empathy, truth, and sovereignty. Love and empathy. And I believe
we the people are the plan. That's what it's always been that way.
Absolutely. And as the electromagnetic field is thinning, as this, the sun is giving us frequencies, because I do believe that there's a divine intervention with our sun that's now hitting the earth, and our reality is changing. It's shifting. It's people are waking up. The systems are collapsing. If you look in the past 5 years, consciousness, what our perception of the world has really shifted, Lewis. It's really, really changed. Okay, it's not the same because we're awakening, but it's a gradual shift. And we're going to start remembering who we are. You don't have to become special. You are special because you have always been special. And we just have to remember we forgot. And that's what awakening is. It's not becoming awake. It's already within us. And they don't want us to know this. They do not want, and that's why of the wars, of the assassinations, digital IDs, it's to entrap you, is to keep the fear going, to delay. Because the digital ID is actually what tethers you to their synthetic system. Okay. And that's what they want. They know this is coming. They know the electromagnetic field is thinning. They know the sun is giving us frequencies. They know that our DNA that they call junk DNA, which is the 10-strand DNA, is going to be awakening, which means we'll have a 12-strand DNA in total. They know this. So this is what I wanted to, there's so much more information that I have, but I wanted to leave it at that for today. But this is it.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I appreciate having this conversation with me. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing so great. And I've got, if you give me, I want to put the donation link for your mission for running for governor of California into the link as well. And for you, Lewis, is there anything you want to say, like you want to talk about?
Well, no. I start my tour. 17 cities in 12 days starts Saturday, the 27th in Yuba City. So people can just go to hermsforcali.com, hermsforcali.com. Well, you're going to have the link there. So just click on the link below. Go in there. We will absolutely need donations. If you want somebody that's open to these conversations, not a politician that's going to play the games to make sure they walk down a certain road, and somebody that really wants to bring us into our new reality, I think I'm your guy. And I can tell you, we're getting donations from all over the world because they understand when we wake up California and take California, the rest of the world's going to follow. So I liken it to the Roger Bannister effect. He first one to run the 4-minute mile. Nobody thought he could do it. They thought it was impossible. As soon as he did it, everybody could run the 4-minute mile. And that's how it's going to be. When we make a good showing in California, we, the people, will take the rest of this world back. That's not my ego speaking. That's just a knowing of how important that is.
Lewis, your ego is very small. Like it's barely there. You can see that you have a mission. You're passionate. You really mean this. And I'm going to leave the link below for that. And I also want to talk about the gold with Matt Geiger that you introduced me to, where people can they can convert their 401ks and IRAs to gold, right? This is
silver.
Yeah. And silver. And guys, this isn't just about economy and wealth and protecting your wealth, although I'm all for that. This is also spiritually rejecting the system by cutting ties with the government, right? And getting gold, Bitcoin, getting rid of those mortgage loans, get rid of them, cut the ties with the banks, cut the ties with the system, be sovereign. Because when you make these actions, you become sovereign, okay? It's all about intention and declaring it. So I'm going to leave the link below for that as well. Definitely need to be speaking to Matt about that. But Lewis, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute honor. I really appreciate you flipping the show today on what I have to say. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
No, I really believe that we've got this. We, the people, just have to access our freedoms and sovereignty and make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Lewis, thank you very much. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless. Bye-bye.
Take care, Nick. Bye-bye.